Let's fix your marketing plan. In this episode, Nikki and I are going to talk to you about why marketing is like dating and how to attract more leads for your business. As always, before we get started, make sure you hit the bell and you subscribe to our channel so you never miss a thing.
Welcome to Powerhouse Business on YouTube. I'm your host, Carolin Soldo. I'm a business owner, business scaling master, and mom of 2 boys. I love thinking big, pushing boundaries, and doing things differently. Most of all, I'm all about achieving massive growth with ease and helping you scale your business by living the life you love. Let's go.
Hi everybody, it's Carolin here. Today I'm talking to Nikki Nash. She is a marketing genius. Everything she does is about marketing, and what's really special about Nikki is that she has a very hands-on approach. The way she thinks about marketing is very tactical, tangible, and it works. And so what that means is that you can take action on the advice that she gives immediately. It's strategic, but she brings it down to a level where you can actually implement it and understand what it means to your business. And I brought Nikki on the show because she thinks very much like me. We're on the same page on so many levels. And one thing I love about her is that she says marketing is like dating. And so for the longest time, I have been telling you guys to customize your marketing. One thing that I believe is a big no-no these days is to assume that marketing is one size fits all. So when you hear about the latest method or the latest launch thing or whatever people are promoting and the gurus are telling you this is it, that might work for some people and it might work for them, but it may not work for you for a variety of reasons. That might be because your niche is different. Your target audience is different in a way where they buy differently, or they have different habits or preferences, or maybe they're on a different platform altogether. It might also be because of you. Not every way to market your business works for you as a person, based on your personality, based on what is fun for you, based on how you want to show up. So I am a big believer in customizing your marketing plan and then creating a journey, really strategizing out the entire marketing journey, the customer experience by which you begin dating your ideal client and bringing them from first meeting them all the way to maybe marrying them, right? When they become a customer or a client of yours. So that's really important. And there's no reason whatsoever for you to be struggling with marketing or not having any ideas. And so in today's interview, we'll talk about storytelling, we'll talk about smart content creation, generating more leads, and doing all of this in a way that's really fun and effective for your business. Well, Nikki, thank you for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So you have an interesting topic. You like to say that marketing is like dating. When I heard that, I thought that's interesting, but it kind of made sense in my mind. But I want to hear from you. Tell us about what that means to you.
Yeah. So for most people, when you think about dating, especially, I don't want to sound super old, but I'm like at my age, like when you think about dating, you're usually looking for, a partner or a mate. You're looking for a conversion, if you will, to parallel it to marketing. And so there are specific stages that folks go through when they're thinking about dating and finding that ideal partner and mate. And those are the same stages that somebody would go through as they're looking for their dream client or customer. Mm-hmm. And so this really came about where I used to teach a ton of digital marketing workshops for a company called General Assembly. And I'd been doing it for years. I think I started in 2012 or something like that, or maybe 2000 they might not have been around yet in 2012. So probably like 2014, I think it was. And I would teach these classes and people would ask for an example or for clarity. And I just started using analogies. And that's where kind of the just like dating analogy came from. It's when I went step by step through each phase that you go through when you're dating, are these same exact phases that folks go through when they're looking to attract and convert a dream client and customer.
Makes a lot of sense. And there's many mistakes that we can make in dating And I wouldn't know anything about that because I've been married for, I don't know, close to 20 years now. So, but
oh, come on, you'll remember.
I remember slightly. There are a lot of things that can go wrong, and especially, I guess, jumping to conclusions too quickly, or like taking it too far too quickly, those kinds of things. But help us relate that a little bit more to marketing. When you think of this process that you just described, how do you think of it, and how can we begin to apply that to our businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about, let's just kind of go back to the basics and remember that when you're dating someone, you're looking for another human being. And I think so often when people are marketing, that like that element sometimes gets like eliminated or something, where you're like, I need a client, I need a lead. Yeah. And they become this almost like inanimate object that you need. And it's like, no, it's a human being, and they have their own thought processes, their own decision-making process, their own fears and things that will come up. And the same is true for dating. And so the first thing you want to do is really get clear on who would be your ideal match. Like, who are you actually looking for in the first place? Because if you aren't clear on your ideal mate or your ideal client or customer, it's going to be hard for you to find said person. It's if anybody's ever read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, or I had to read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens when I was younger. My aunt bought me that book. And habit number 2 is begin with the end in mind. Mm-hmm. And so I always tell people, start with the end, like what's your ideal situation that you're looking for, and what does that look like, and get clear on that. Because when you know the type of person that you're looking for, then you'll at least start to be able to identify where you should start looking for said person, right? So if you're looking for, it's no different today, if you're looking for a certain type of person or date, there are different dating apps for everything, whether you're looking for, hookups or religious reasons, or somebody with the same, sexual orientation or whatever it is, there's an app for that, right? And so there's there's an app for that really when it comes to marketing. It's like, are your people on Facebook, Instagram, going to networking events? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they attending certain conferences? Where are your people hanging out, so that you can get clear on where you want to spend your time? And you don't need to be at all of them, but you want to start by figuring out where your person is in the first place, and then figure out where do you want to show up? Where are you going to show up as your best self, right? And, that's when you metaphorically get all dolled up and try to capture somebody's attention, right? Like you show up as your best self, whether it's at a networking event or a conference or online, and you try to spark conversations with people with the intention of, beginning to build a relationship. And so that's kind of the first step or phase, is really getting clear on who it is that you're trying to attract and where they're spending their time, so that you can show up there. And then there are so many other like steps and analogies, and we can talk through those, but I just wanted to pause there and see if you had any questions, thoughts, feelings with that guy.
That's great. And for you guys watching, Nikki has a masterclass when it comes to marketing, and we'll tell you the link a little bit later, but keep watching and we'll reveal that to you, where I'm sure you go through, this process in a lot more detail. But what you said is so smart, because it helps us really, select that one dream client, and not say we want to be everything to everyone, which we've all heard before. But now imagine you're trying to attract all kinds of different men or women. It's clear why you don't want that, right? And so if you put that into a business framework, it makes a whole lot more sense. So that's really smart. And I know, Nikki, you talk a lot about storytelling. You already mentioned that just a little bit now. So is it now, as we move through these stages, that we begin to tell more stories in our marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you brought that up, because when you think about how you're attracting or connecting with someone, whether it's, for dating purposes or for marketing, but, my jam is marketing, you start connecting with people through learning from them and hearing their stories and getting a sense of who they really are. And so often people are thinking, how can I get that client, get that customer? How do I differentiate myself from the competition? All these things come up. But you're innately different. Like, you have your own experiences, you have your own way of telling stories, you have your own, philosophies and qualities that are unique to you. And especially for folks that are essentially selling themselves, whether they are, selling themselves as a coach or a consultant or a real estate agent or a doctor. There are so many different fields in which your personal brand is incredibly important to somebody's buying decision. And so one of the things that you want to make sure you're doing is that you are 100% yourself and are sharing stories and experiences that are important for you and unique to you, but with purpose and intention. I've shared a story about a lacrosse game that I had in middle school purely because there was a parallel or analogy to a teaching point I was trying to make. And I mean, I don't know if a lot of my competitors played lacrosse in middle school. They could have, but they probably wouldn't have told that story or told it in the way that I did to make that point. And so when you're able to make the seemingly complicated less complicated through storytelling, you can use stories to teach from that perspective. You can use stories to relate with people so that they know that you've been where they are right now and you've overcome it. So it could be more of that inspirational type of storytelling. It could just be for pure entertainment factor where you just want to, give somebody a laugh and say, guess what just happened to me today? But all of that plays a role in people making a decision as to whether or not they want to buy from you or work with you or not. And stories are incredibly powerful for those reasons, whether it's, entertaining someone, inspiring them to take action or teaching them something. And so that's why I love stories. You can also sell with stories. You can share where you were, where you are now, some of the things you had to work through and why you made the decision to, invest in something or do something and use that as a parallel or a way to support someone through the sales process. So still stories can be incredibly valuable once you have somebody's attention.
So, yeah, so good. And I talked to someone recently and he said, he likes to think of it strategically where he will actually talk about himself and his stories and his family a certain percent of the time, maybe, 30, 40%. And then he obviously brings up his, subject matter expertise as well. So he positions those stories, intentionally. And then the other thing is, I'm sure people, never run out of stories, or you shouldn't as quickly because you have a long life, right? And there's a lot of different examples you can bring up. And then you don't have to think very hard. People always say, what content can I create? Well, talk about yourself, right? There should be enough content for you to bring up and to your point, see how it relates to teaching points you want to make. So yeah, that's great. Do you think that stories, like what's more important? I'm wondering, when you think of lead generation or the marketing that you do with your clients and for yourself, is it more important to lead with the stories and sort of more of the emotional sell, or is it more important to create that, high quality content all the time? What do you think?
So it's interesting. I see them as not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
So when I create content, I'm naturally a storyteller, and I tell stories about it could be anything. Literally, and I'm just thinking of it because I had to go through editing, the final round of editing for my book. I literally, for anybody who has ever seen the TV show Daria, it was on MTV in the 90s or the early 2000s, and I loved it. And it was on Hulu, but I think now it's on CBS's app or whatever. But when I was writing the book, I was binge watching it on Hulu at the time. And I watched this episode and it was completely applicable to a point I was trying to make to teach somebody something. And so I just told the story of what happened in the episode and then made that parallel to what was going on in, or what a lesson that somebody needed to understand or a point I was trying to make. Yeah. And the reason that I'm saying this is because I think that was, really, it was engaging for folks, for people who read, had a number of people read everything early, but it was engaging, it was entertaining, and it was informative. And to me, that's what high quality content is that it could be written, it could be a video, it could be a podcast. But if you're able to pull somebody in and have them go, wow, I'm not going to forget what you just told me because you've struck a chord with me, whether it's in emotion, you can strike. I was an English major and yet I can't speak this word right now. You can strike a chord. Yeah, strike a chord with someone on many different levels of emotion. And yes, some are more powerful than others. But the point is, if you make an emotional connection with someone and tell a story, they're more likely to remember you. They're more likely to remember your story. And if you can tie it to a lesson, then they're going to go, wow, this person's an expert. in what they're sharing. And so to me, that's what, really great content does. And you can do that in, 100 characters or something like 300 characters or less. And you can do it in as long as a book. And I personally am better and more excited about long form content. But when I have to post on Instagram, or at least when I got started, before I started training people on my team, I would look up, there are contests called like 300 word contests where somebody has to, like writing contests, where somebody has to tell a story in 300 words or less. That's not a lot of words. And they're great stories. And if you read a bunch of those, suddenly you start going, that's how I tell a story in like 2 minutes or in a minute.
Smart. Okay. Love that.
Yeah.
That's great. That's cool. And you already pointed at this too with expertise. People always say, how do I really be the expert? Or how do I believe it? But how do I make other people believe it too? Right. So I think from what I'm getting from you is that when we tell from our own experience and we bring our own stories into it, then people believe and they see that we actually know it. Like we've lived it, we've experienced it, we know how to relate to it, right? So that also helps in making this really legit, believable, and memorable. To your point, people remember the stories you tell a lot more than the bullet points you give them on stats or whatever, right?
Yeah, and there are a number of different ways to position yourself as an expert. And this is just one of them. It's just contributing to a topic, whether it's through your own stories, your own way of telling something, you create your own framework. I'm very meta, so I tend to create frameworks that teach the thing that I'm teaching. So like I have a framework called CARR, C-A-R-R, and it's literally how do you position yourself as an expert? And one of the C stands for contribute, and it's about creating a framework. And so I'm like, this framework that you're in right now is me teaching you how to be an expert, and you can do the same thing by taking what you know and turning it into a framework. Smart. And bam, you're seen as an expert. So that's contributing that way and telling stories is just one way of positioning yourself as an expert, which is really kind of fun and cool for folks.
Framework, yeah. And you just sort of make it up, right? Based on, what you think makes sense. I've came up with the optimization triangle recently. The focus, foundations, and fixes. And I literally made it up, but it made sense to me and I put it out there and it made sense to people too, right? So it's a way to organize thoughts in a way, right?
100%. And where I got this, I remember I was sitting at a conference and it was a conference about how to, become the go-to expert, essentially, like up level your marketing and all of this. And I'm sitting in like probably the third row or something. And I had my notebook out and the person on stage is talking and I'm taking crazy notes, like writing everything that they're saying because they're speaking so quickly that I'm like, I can't digest this information right now. I'm going to write it down. Right. And then I write it all down. I go back to my hotel room. I look at my notes and I'm like, I know all this stuff. Like all they did was take stuff that I knew because at that point I'd been in marketing for 12 years or something. So I'm like, oh, this isn't anything new, but they created frameworks and they taught things differently. And that's actually what I walked away with. I was like, that's what is worth something in my notebook. It's not the actual notes. It's the fact that they took something that I already knew really, because, in a lot of industries, you may not be saying anything dramatically new, but you can say it in a different way that will resonate with people, that people will understand. And so to your point, you can create a triangle, you can create your own framework, you can, create a matrix or just an acronym or something that has people go, okay, I will remember this. I understand what you're teaching me here. And then bam, you're seen as an expert from that perspective as well.
Smart. That's awesome. Nikki, I want to talk about your book a little bit. I always love people that write books and I love reading books and I think it's so great. Tell us, the book's coming out soon. So tell us all about the book, what's in it, when is it coming out, where can we get it, all the good things.
Yes, all of the things. So book is called Market Your Genius, which is beautifully aligned to most of my things. It's the name of my podcast. It's like my jam. And it's all about how you, as somebody who wants to be seen as the go-to expert in your industry, how you build a profitable business. So it's about generating leads, turning those leads into clients and customers, building that, following of loyal customers that just keep buying from you and love you to death. And so it's a marketing book, but it's really designed to walk you through everything from, hey, I want to make sure that I'm selling the right products and have the right idea and I'm targeting the right audience, down to how do I actually attract that audience? And then how do I actually deliver what I'm promising in such a way that people keep buying more and tell all of their friends. And so there's 3 sections of the book, which were those 3. It's about packaging your genius, it's about promoting your genius, and it's about delivering your genius. And I'm super excited about it. It comes out August 24th of 2021. So depending on when people are watching and listening to this, it may or may not be out, but it's available for pre-order right now. And it's sold pretty much everywhere. It's like Amazon, Target, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, indie books. Like, so the easiest thing to go if you're like, where the heck can I find this book? Is to go to my website, which is nikkinash.co/book. And then I list all the places that you could grab it, as well as what the pre-order bonuses are.
Amazing. So if you didn't catch the link, look down in the description. We'll put the links right there. And either pre-order it or go buy it right now, depending on when you're watching this episode. I love the fact that Nikki is very tactical, strategic, yes, but knowing that we have to bring it down to steps and things people can actually do so that they get the results, right? And what I'm hearing is that you're not just looking at the marketing per se or itself, you're looking at what's really important is like, who are we targeting and what are we selling to them? And then actually, how do we extend that value? And that's so smart because I find, at least in my field, a lot of people try to market, but they're not clear in the beginning. And that then bleeds into the marketing, and then the marketing doesn't work, and then the whole thing sort of falls apart. So you are addressing all of it, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I love what you said. It's about it being, tactical and actionable. And it absolutely is. And that's what I'm most excited about, is that it's very me in a lot of ways. Like, if you read this book, there's storytelling, there's, quotes. I share crazy, funny things about myself, but all in the spirit of teaching moments. And I share, the highs and lows of my entrepreneurship journey and my biggest lessons from them. And then homework for people. Like, every chapter has homework. It's like, go do this thing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it will be a game changer for your business. And then it also comes with a companion course that is free with it. Like, it's like digital downloads of the worksheets and podcast episodes and little videos and things that, on their own aren't really helpful because you have to read the book. But when it's combined with the book, it just kind of adds that extra element and dimension to it. So
high value. Love that. Yeah. And clearly you're a teacher, right? That's how your brain works and it's how you think. And yeah, you can read a lot of books, but if you don't do anything with it, then nothing's ever going to change. So you're even making sure that people take action with the homework. That's awesome. There are so many things. Oh my God, you and I could be talking all day long. I think we have a lot in common. This is awesome. There's one more thing I wanted to ask you, and this could open up a whole new discussion in itself, but this idea of creating or limitless thinking, right?
Yes.
And that actually came up for me when you were talking about sharing the stories, because in my mind I was thinking, well, there are some people who actually have blocks around that. Like they're afraid of something, or they think they can't access the stories, or they don't have any or whatever. But I think it's just sort of like, blocks, limitations, fears and things. And the opposite is limitless thinking. So tell me more about that.
Yeah. No, I firmly believe that the only limits or boxes that are put around somebody are the ones that we put around ourselves. And it's to the point where I have to remind myself that every day. I have limitless tattooed on my wrist. I'm like, where it is, I'm like, I don't know how to angle it at the camera. But it's just one of those things that I have to remind myself on a regular basis, because anything that you truly want and desire is possible. It really just comes down to removing the barriers that you put around it being possible and taking action towards it.
Yep.
And I've seen this firsthand in so many elements of my life. And I really believe that from a marketing perspective as well, because so often I speak to people and I get it. Marketing, sales, business, that can be the sexy stuff. Like, ooh, I'm going to make a lot of money doing what I love and it's going to be amazing. But the reality is that a marketing plan that I work with you on and we put on a piece of paper is pointless if you have a ton of limiting beliefs around the things you have to do around the plan. And so I really believe that if you come from the standpoint of anything and everything is possible, then you're able to create a marketing plan and create a business plan and create things from the standpoint of, well, if anything's possible, I might as well do this in the most fun way possible. And so I always encourage people, and I talk about it in like any trainings and things like that I do, is that you really want to listen to yourself. And there are a million experts out there that will tell you a million different ways that you can grow your business. And it's probably worked for them and a bunch of their clients and customers. But at the end of the day, it has to feel good for you. And you have to have kind of like the least resistance to it, like the least amount of blocks to this activity. And so if you have a ton of blocks around doing, a 5-day challenge, but you don't have any blocks around doing a webinar, then do the freaking webinar.
Yes.
Or if you're like, I have no blocks around going to networking events, but right now the idea of doing an Instagram live is stressing me out, like then go to some networking events. I'm not saying you'll never go live on Instagram or any of that. I'm just saying, like, start with the path of least momentum, least resistance,
right.
Get some momentum, and then start tearing down the blocks and barriers and fears to everything else so that you can do other things as well. But I think so often people get stuck in this guru told me that I had to do this to grow my business, and therefore I'm only going to do this. And then you're trying to do this and you're not doing it, and because there are blocks there, and then you're beating yourself up over it, and then it's not happening. And then you're like, I've been in business 3, 4, 5, 6 years. I have no money. I hate this. I should give up. Right. And it's like, no, like there's an easier way. It's just not going to be the same for every person. It's really unique for you. And that's why I love teaching, and why I love teaching marketing is because I feel as though I call BS on there being a one way to do everything, which is often what is marketed out there.
I agree. And not to say that these methods or whatever, the latest, whatever is out there, the hype is that for sure will work. And there's obviously results that it works for many people. But to your point, it's not a one size fits all. And marketing is about creativity, right? So I'm getting from you a very playful attitude. And that goes along with the limitless thinking and tailoring it and making it work and having fun doing it. And I love that. I think that's exactly what marketing should be about. And it helps people get over themselves and then be playful and then experiment and figure out what works for them. So that's beautiful. So great.
Yeah.
Nikki, Masterclass. If people want to learn more from you, and I obviously, all the guests on my show, I highly recommend you go check out, go learn from them, buy their books, watch their classes. Listen to their podcasts, all the things. But Nikki, tell us about your masterclass and maybe about your podcast too.
Yeah. So my masterclass, you can access it, and I know the links will be in the show notes, but it's freemarketingbootcamp.com. And in it, I go through in more detail my Just Like Dating method, which was hey, here's the different phases of dating or marketing that's just like dating. So we go in more detail around that. And then I talk about my philosophy around marketing. I love you because you said it and I didn't even say it, but like marketing is a giant science experiment. Mm-hmm. So I talk through how you figure out and work through what is the right thing for you to be doing as an entrepreneur. And so I talk about those things and a couple of other things, but the idea is that you walk away with more clarity around what your marketing actions are going to be to grow your business. And so that's the marketing boot camp. And then on my podcast, it's a similar vein. It's a show really centered around how do you as an entrepreneur grow your business? And we tackle it from a number of different areas. We go through mindset. We go through, how you balance business and your personal life, because I don't believe it should be all or nothing. We talk finance. We talk marketing, sales, writing a book, all the starting a podcast, being guest on podcasts, all of the things that people really love. But I do it in series. So essentially it's like, hey, here's, a 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes are going to be on a similar topic from different angles. So think of them as mini master classes.
Smart. I like that. Yeah. And so it allows you to, get some depth, right? Probably in each of these veins and areas too. Awesome. So yeah, guys, check out the show notes, the description below. We have Nikki's podcast there. We have the masterclass there. We'll have the book there. You know what her website is. So definitely hop on over there, connect with her. There's clearly a lot of high value, actionable information and education and everything you need to help you grow your business. And I'm sure at different stages, whether you're a beginner or someone who's been in business for a couple of years, you never stop learning and growing. So yeah, with that, Nikki, I want to respect your time. We could talk all day, but this was incredible. You're super sweet, you're super smart, and good luck with your book and everything that you're doing. And thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Wow, what an interview, guys, right? Nikki is incredible. Lots of hands-on, tactical, actionable advice that she gave here already. And as always, we want to hear from you down below in the comments. Once you look through some of the show notes and check out the free resources that we gave today, let us know what you loved the most about this episode. Let's talk marketing down below in the comments. Give us some feedback on how we can improve and what you loved about this episode. We would love to hear from you. With that, thanks so much for being here again. Thanks for being a loyal subscriber. And if you're new, make sure you subscribe. We put out great content all about helping you grow your business with ease and excellence every single week. We talk about marketing, sales, mindset, finance, branding, messaging, and so much more to help you build a powerful business online. With that, again, make sure you subscribe. Maybe share this with your friends and make sure you come back again next week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Would you like to copy the simple optimization system that got my business on the Inc. 5000 list of America's most successful companies? Then sign up for our on-demand training, where I'll teach you the 3 simple steps to grow your business faster and farther than you ever thought possible. Go to scalemybusinessfast.com to watch it right now.